Hello students, I am Deepthi Santosh from St. Thomas College, Bhilai, faculty from Education Department. Today I am going to talk about Marx theory of social change and social class. In my previous video, I have already taught you about Marx and his biography and historical interpretation of history, dialectical materialism. But in this video, I am going to emphasize on Marx theory of social change and social class. Marx theory of social change is much interlinked with this concept of social class and social conflict. So, Marx theory of social change is interlinked with the concept of social class and social conflict. Marx was the exponent of the conflict theory of social change, which means change is caused by tensions between competing interests in society. There is always presence of competing interest in the society. So there is always a tension in the society. Tension amongst whom? The haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor, the capitalists and the laborers. These were the conflicts happening in the society. Marx believed that the class struggle was a driving force of social change. So according to him, class struggle was the driving force of social change. Marx wrote in the Communist Manifesto, that was his book, all history is the history of conflict. So if you go back to the history, you can study about the different stages of history, and that stage is transformed to the next stage only because of the conflicts happened. So he believed that all history is the history of conflict. History is the story of conflict between the exploiting and the exploited class. So here he mentions about the exploiting and the exploited class. Now, who is the exploiting and the exploited class? Exploiting class here are the rich people, the haves, the landlords, the capitalists. And who are the exploited class? The poor people, the serfs, the peasants, and the laborers and the workers. These were the exploited class. This conflict repeats itself again and again until capitalism is overthrown by the workers and a socialist state is created. Marx conceived four major successive modes of production in the history of mankind. What were these four stages of successive modes of production? Let us learn about it. Four stages of modes of production. First is the Asiatic. Asiatic is also known as primitive communism. Second is the ancient. Here slavery prevailed. And third is the feudal mode of production. And fourth is the modern bourgeois or the capitalist mode of production. Modern bourgeois or the capitalist mode of production. In all these four modes of production, each of these came into existence through contradictions and antagonisms. There had lot of contradictions and antagonisms in all these four stages. But in Asiatic stage, that is called as primitive communism, there was no class conflict because they produce goods for themselves, for their subsistence only. But in others, there was production of goods in surplus, and the profit happened to the owners of the productions And so there was an exploited class there, exploiting and an exploited class. So each of these came into existence through contradictions and antagonisms. As a creative thinker, Marx had very strongly supported social change. But in his analysis of social change, he placed more importance on economic factors and neglected religious, political, and other factors. He made conflict the driving force of history and undermined the importance of harmony and consensus. So, according to him, the driving force of history is conflict only, not the harmony and consensus. He never believed in harmony. Conflict is prevalent in every society, and you cannot ignore it. Marx called man the main instrument of change. So here we have talked about social change, and he regards conflict as a most important factor, or the social class as a most important factor of social change. And social change is inevitable as it is law of nature. You cannot stop the change. It is inevitable. It happens. And conflict is also inevitable according to him. Now let us talk about Marx's theory of social class. Now, in Marx's theory of social class, what happened? According to Marx, class is the manifestation of economic differentiation. What is class? It is a manifestation of economic differentiations. Class, according to Marx, is basically economic in nature. Though it had great social importance. It is basically economic in nature. From the Marxian point of view, class is not determined by the occupation or income, but by the position an individual occupies and the function he performs in the process of production. So class is not determined by the occupation or income. So if a man is rich, or if it is occupying a very high class, that doesn't mean that his class is formed there, but by the position an individual occupies, but the functions he performs, whatever function. For example, if there are two blacksmiths, of whom one is the owner of the workshop and another a paid worker, they belong to two different classes, though their occupation remains the same. So one is the owner of the workshop, the other is the paid worker. Though they are of same occupation, but they belong to different class. Thus Marx defined a class as all those people who share a common relationship to the means of economic production. So defined class as all those people who share a common relationship. There is a common relationship. That is actually, here common relationship means exploitation to the means of production, economic production. Those who own and control the means of production, who are they? Slave owners, feudal landlords, and the owners of property such as factories and capital are the dominant class. And those who work for them, that is the slaves, the peasants, or the industrial laborers, are the subordinate class. So who are the dominant class here? Who are the dominant class? Dominant class is slave owners, then landlords, then capitalists. And he also talked about the subordinate class. Subordinate class. And who were they? Slaves, then peasants, then workers or laborers. They were exploited, these subordinate classes were exploited by these dominant classes. Like that, the relationship between the two classes is not only of dominance and subordination, but also of, here the relationship is known not for only for dominance and subordination, but also for exploitation. Exploitation is also a major conflicting element in this dominant and subordinate class. The workers produce, how the exploitation is done, the workers produce surplus wealth, but they do not enjoy the use of the surplus they have created. Though the workers, who are the workers? The slaves, peasants and the workers and laborers, the subordinate class, they produce a lot, but they do not enjoy the use of the surplus they have created. Instead, those who own the means of production are able to take this surplus wealth as profit. So those who own the means of production, who own the means of production? Landlords, capitalists, these people own the means of production and they are able to take the surplus wealth as profit for their own use. This, in Marx' view, is the essence of exploitation and the main source of conflict between the classes that has occurred throughout history. So, according to Marx, the economic base of society influences the general character of all other aspects of culture and social structure, such as law, religion, education, and government. The dominant class is able to control all of these institutions and to ensure that they protect its own interest. The law, therefore, protects the rich and not the poor. Now let us study about the 5 variables that determine the Marxian concept of class. 5 variables. What are the 5 variables? The 5 variables that determine the Marxian concept of class. First variable is the conflict over the distribution of economic rewards between the classes. Conflict between the economic rewards. Conflict over the economic rewards between the different classes. Naturally, there is always a conflict between the economic rewards because the economic rewards is not equal. The injustice is happening to the have-nots. They are producing the surplus, but they are not getting the profit out of it. The owners are taking all the profit. So there is a conflict over the economic rewards they are getting between these classes. The second is easy communication. There is an easy communication. Easy communication. Okay, easy communication between the individuals in the same class position so that ideas and action programs are readily disseminated. When there is an easy communication, then only ideas and action programs can be disseminated. Otherwise, if there is no communication, there won't be any formation of any class. So, for formation of a class, a communication of these people, these exploited people, is a must. The next is growth of class consciousness. Third variable is growth of class consciousness. This is also an important, very important variable in class. Growth of class consciousness is a sense that the members of a class have a feeling of solidarity and understanding of their historic role. Means if there is a class consciousness, there will be a feeling of solidarity among the members of the class. That is very much essential for the formation of a class. Solidarity, the feeling of solidarity among the members of the exploited class is very much essential. The next is the dissatisfaction of the lower class. The fourth one is dissatisfaction of the lower class. Lower class here means the exploited class. Dissatisfaction of the lower class over its inability to control the economic structure of which they feel to be the exploited victim. They are the exploited. Lower classes are the exploited victim. They are not able to control the economic structure. So there is lot of dissatisfaction among this lower class. And the fifth one is establishment of a political organization. Fifth one is establishment of political organization. Fifth one is establishment of a political organization resulting from the economic structure, the historical situation and maturation of class consciousness. So these are the 5 variables. So in short, when we talk about, according to Marx, for the development of the social class, there must be a, let us revise this. For the development of the social class, there should be, number 1, what is that? Physical concentration of mass of people. That is physical concentration of mass of, physical concentration of the masses of, or the mass of people. That is because physical concentration, if there is no physical concentration, you are not able to communicate also. You are not able to transfer your ideas also. So there is physical concentration of masses of people is must. Then the second is easy communication among them. Easy communication among them. Easy communication is must. If there is communication, they can tell their, or they can share the problems and the troubles happening to them, or the exploitation done to them. Then third is repeated conflicts over economic rewards. That is repeated conflicts. Repeated conflicts over economic. Naturally, it's not the once or twice. Every time these serving classes or the laborious classes, the workers are being exploited for not giving any kind of profit, and naturally the repeated conflicts over economic rewards is natural. Then the fourth way is the growth of class consciousness. Growth of class consciousness. Because of this, there will be growth of class consciousness, and naturally the last stage is they will revolt for it. They will try to reform this stage. There will be conflicts, and these mass of people will come together to fight for the one reason. So according to Marx, when you talk about the social class, he is very clear that what are the characteristic features of a social class. He will say that only 2 major classes exist, that is haves and have-nots. Have-nots. These are the 2 classes that exist in a society. According to Marx, in all stratified societies, there are 2 major social groups, rich class and the poor class, or the haves and the have-nots, or a ruling class and the subject class. Subject class is also means the have-nots only. So from a Marxian view, a class is a society, is a social group where members share the same relationship to the forces of production. If they are exploited, all those people are exploited the same way. Thus, in the feudal stage, the 2 main classes were the feudal nobility, noble people, that is who owned the land, and the landless serfs who worked in their land. And in the capitalist stage, there are 2 main classes, that is the bourgeois or the capitalist who own the forces of production, or the proletariats or the working class. The proletariats and the working class who were hired workers. So they were actually these people were actually the exploited people of these ruling classes. Then Marx believed that human society evolves through different stages according to the means of production, and that is dominant at each stage. What were the stages? The first is the primitive communism, which is primitive communism stages. Now we are going to talk about the stages, that is primitive communism. Here there is no private property. All the properties were they have their own ownership. There was no specific private ownership of the private property. The second is the slavery, in which one class owns and exploits the members of the other. And now the third is the feudalism. Which aristocratic landowners exploit the mass of peasants or serfs. That was natural. So every stage there was an exploiting class and the exploited class. And next is the fourth is the capitalism. Capitalism stage. In this, what happened? In which the owners of the wealth exploit the mass of industrial workers or laborers. Owners of the means of production are people who, what do? Exploit the mass of industrial workers or the laborers. But the tension of class conflict lead to a revolution that results in the fifth stage. What is the? All these, except this communism, primitive communism, these second and third and the fourth stages leads to lot of tensions of class conflict, and the revolution happens, and which results to the fifth stage, which is called the socialism, which occurs when the industrial workers have finally revolted. These people revolted and leads to socialism or communism, whatever you call. Okay, so in the three stages, excluding the first, that is primitive communism, labor power required for the production was supplied by the subject class, that is by the slaves, serfs and wage laborers respectively. So in the three stages, excluding the first, that is primitive communism, the labor power required for production was supplied by whom? The subject class. So who were the subject class? The slaves, the serfs and wage laborers respectively. The subject class were slaves, who were the subject class? These were slaves, serfs and the laborers or the workers. Okay, is made of the majority of the population, whereas the ruling or the dominant class formed the minority. The ruling or the ruling class was also there, subject class is there and ruling class. Who were they? These made the majority population. And the ruling class, who are the ruling classes? Aristocratic landowners. Okay, so landowners. Then industrialist or capitalist. These were the ruling class, and they made the minority population. They were minority population. So what we find? The exploited class, the subject class, these were the exploited class. Okay, and ruling class were the exploiting class. So what you find? Exploiting class has the minority of population, but the exploited class formed the majority of the population. Marx mentioned the case of the first stage, the stage of primitive communism, as the only example of a classless society. The first stage, that is primitive communism, is only the stage where you don't have any class. According to classes did not exist. Marx, classes did not exist during the era of primitive communism, when the societies were based on a lot of socialist mode of production, in a hunting and food gathering. When there is hunting and food gathering stage, classes did not exist, since all the members of the society shared the same relationship to the force of production. Every member was both producer and the owner. They produced for their own subsistence. This stage was called as subsistence economy, because production was only to meet basic survival needs. So classes emerge only when the productive capacity of society expands beyond the level required for subsistence. As agriculture developed, surplus wealth, that is goods above the subsistence of the community, was produced. Okay, then this led to an exchange of goods, and trading developed within and between the communities. This led to the development of private property. So when this happened, classes emerged only because the production of surplus goods, other than their extension, when they started producing producing goods in large numbers, and the surplus was there, and these were used later for trading within or the outside their community. So private property and accumulation of surplus wealth form the basis for the development of class societies. So here I'll explain. So private property plus the accumulation of wealth form the basis for the development of what? Of class societies. That means emergence of class. The class society emerged because of the basis of development of private property and accumulation of wealth. That is emergence of a class. That is emergence of class, like class of who? That is producers and non-producers. Producers and non-producers. And producers, who was these producers? Which own only the labor power. These own only labor power. And this non-producers, which owns the forces of production. Owns forces of production. What is this forces of production? That is, they are obliged to work them. These producers are obliged to work for them. That means these producers were exploited and the non-producers were exploiting class here. That means the capitalists, the landlords and the rich people. The producers who were the producers were poor here. They were exploited by this exploiting classes. They own labor power. The classless society is thus the final phase of communism, where there will be no classes and no conflict. Final phase of the classless society is actually the final phase of communism, where there will be no classes and no conflict. The working principle of the communist society would be from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. That means all for each and each for all. That is, according to Marx, this capitalist system is going to finish, or is going to end up. How? He explained very well that he believed that naturally this capitalist society is not going to exist for long. Why? Because first is the capitalist system, the capitalist system will naturally enlarge the number of workers. Enlarge, how they are going to finish off? Enlarge the number of workers, because they were capitalists, they were the owners of the production, so they want somebody to work for them for the production of enlarging the production, so they will enlarge the number of workers too. Then that, after that, what happens? That brings them together into compact. These enlargement of workers brings them together into compact groups. Why compact groups? They will have lot of communication, easy communication between them, as I told you before. Makes them class conflicts. Because of that compact group, they will have a chance for easy communication, and which will make them class conscious. Class conscious means the workers or the laborers who are working for the capitalist, and then reduces their purchasing power too. That will also, when they become of the class conscious, their purchasing power too reduces purchasing power. Then, and by increasing, and because of that, by increasing exploiting them, because of that, they exploit them. Exploitation is done to them. They are being exploited, and like that exploitation arouses them to organized resistance. That arouses them to organized resistance. See, whatever you see, number of workers, then they make a compact group, then they become class conscious, their purchasing power decreases, and what happens? Then they're exploited, and then they become aroused, and then they make an organized resistance. That is, call for the workers to put an end to it, to put an end to this exploitation of the capitalist. Call for the workers to put an end to it, to this capitalist system of mode of production, and hence workers of the whole world unite. Nothing to lose but your chains, and you have world to win. That is their way. So the classless society is thus the final phase of communism, where there will be no class and no class conflict. Thank you, students. I hope you understood this concept well. Next, I will talk about class conflict in my next video. Thank you so much.